Breaking the Cycle of Sex and Porn Addiction by Stephen Baker. The following slides will illustrate the research I have completed so far. This is an important story because according to Chris Lee, a writer for Newsweek, the Society for the Advancement of Sexual Health estimates that between 3 and 5% of the U.S., or more than 9 million people, could meet the criteria for sexual addiction. Lee also reported that approximately 1,500 sex therapists are practicing today, up from less than 100 a decade ago. The demographics are changing too, stated Lee. In the past, the predominant addicts were men 40 to 50 years old. Now there are more women, teenagers, and senior citizens that seek treatment. According to a Google Trends search on sex and porn addiction, there wasn't any interest until the end of 2010. There was some fluctuation between 2011 through 2015. There were no news headlines and no forecasts. The regional interest was solely in the United States at 100. When sex addiction is searched, there was a steady fluctuation of interest between 2004 through 2015. Also, there were news headlines between 2010 through 2014. From Donald Trump's comments about Tiger Woods' sex addiction in the New York Daily News to Tori Spelling's husband getting treatment for intense sex addiction in the Irish Independent, this topic was mainstream throughout this time period. A search on porn addiction in Google Trends shows low interest from 2004 through 2010. However, in December 2014, there's a huge spike of interest at 100. The article at that time period comes from a publishing called First Post, which links low marriage rates in the U.S. to porn addiction. The regional interest for sex addiction and porn addiction in the U.S. remain at 100. My story will stand out due to the current lack of saturation on this topic and the millions of people that are struggling with the issue. The timely promotion throughout Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Google Plus shows that interest will increase. Each news headline shows that sex addiction is relevant throughout the U.S. Therefore, my story on this topic will pique interest from a wide range of people throughout the U.S. Also, it will trigger new interest in New York, being that my blog is based in New York City and covers a range of newsworthy and important stories that have already garnered interest. Each news article is varied and has brought national attention to this topic, demonstrating consistent interest. This story will focus on all sides of sex and porn addiction by providing expert knowledge and therapy. Dorothy Hayden, author of Total Sex Addiction Recovery, has 15 years of experience treating people who suffer from sexual compulsion. She offers a comprehensive treatment program that includes relapse prevention, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychodynamic therapy, hypnosis, group, and couples counseling. Paula Hall is a sexual and relationship psychotherapist who states that society is changing, and so are our experiences of sex, sexuality, and our cultural norms. She further states, so perhaps it's inevitable that the profile of a sex addict is also changing as we take into account the differences in societal context. For example, the smartphone revolution and the advent of domestic broadband. There wasn't much competition between the three terms. Sex addiction garnered much more interest over a longer period of time, despite the periodic lows. The main target audience are men between ages 20 to 50. With the current findings of sex and porn addicts, however, women, teens, and seniors must now be targeted as well. In conclusion, the growth of social media, smartphone apps like Grindr, and websites such as ashleymadison.com have made casual sex and pornography much more accessible and anonymous over the last 12 to 15 years. According to the experts, though watching porn isn't the same as seeking out live sex, the former can lead to the latter. Not everyone who looks at a nude image is going to become a sex addict, but the constant exposure is going to trigger people who are susceptible, says Dr. David Sack, Chief Executive of Los Angeles' Promises Treatment Centers.